I'm staring down the weight of the words I'm spilling. They hang in the air like smoke curling from a cigarette I never lit, thick and slow, pressing against the edges of my skull. Every thought I chase, every line I draw between things that might not even be separate, every border we pretend is real, it all lands on me now. And the strange part is, it isn't just me, it's you too. I can feel it, the silence creeping beneath the sound of my own voice. I'm not just writing these sentences, I'm living inside them. The narration doesn't stay on the page. It leaks, and suddenly I'm aware of someone else out there, listening, watching, breathing in the same air I am. That presence, the awareness that someone else exists beyond my own thoughts, is terrifying and beautiful. Like stepping outside myself for a moment and realizing the world doesn't need me to understand it, but I'm still here. Most people live trapped inside their own narration, staring at the world as if it needs permission to exist. They confuse the story for the thing itself, the label for the object, the map for the territory, and they call that life. Money, names, identities, they're paper masks stapled to faces nobody remembers seeing. Civilization runs on them, on the repetition of agreed-upon hallucinations. And somewhere along the way, we forgot they were hallucinations. Underneath it all, reality doesn't need explanation. It doesn't need labels, it just moves. Patterns without owners, moments without justification, and yet we draw lines everywhere, pretending separation is solid when it exists only in the mind. The difference between me and everything else is just another line drawn by a tired, talking brain. I know because I live inside the commentary. The voice in my head never stops. It names, judges, measures, explains. It wants walls and order, a tidy map of chaos, because the mind doesn't like open spaces. If I talk all the time, I can't listen. If I think all the time, I can't touch. The world keeps happening, and I keep orbiting my own explanations, missing the raw friction of existence beneath the narration. Every now and then, that voice falters. A silence slips through, subtle and stubborn, and the edges of the world sharpen. Suddenly, the hum of existence doesn't need interpretation. Every breath, every vibration that my skin, eyes, and ears translate into experience, it keeps happening whether I name it or not. Time doesn't wait. Tomorrow never arrives. It's always now, always this, and chasing the future only makes it vanish faster. The strange comfort comes in noticing it, breathing, half voluntary, half involuntary, a rhythm I didn't invent, moving through me even when I forget it exists. Like life itself, a simultaneous act of doing and being done to. A reminder that the line between action and experience is thinner than we like to believe. When I notice it, when I let the narration fall away even slightly, the world ceases to be a series of explanations and becomes simply happening. Sound arrives next, in waves, in fragments, in the way a city hums beneath your skin when you're walking through it at night. A cough down the street, the far-off shudder of a car, a footstep on wet asphalt. None of it asks to be named. None of it needs to be understood. And yet, the mind insists, and for a while I play along, labeling, cataloging, measuring the music that keeps itself alive without permission, until I stop and let it be, just sound. Just vibration, just the city breathing alongside me. And then there's the darkness, not the kind painted on in novels, not the cinematic shadow chasing a protagonist down empty streets. This darkness is closer. It sits behind the eyes, behind the thoughts, behind the constant labeling. It's not threatening. It's patient. It watches while the mind insists on understanding, while the world keeps moving regardless of my interpretations. And in that patient darkness, I find an odd kind of clarity. Movement begins to feel different. The way my lungs expand, the way my heartbeat echoes in my ears, the subtle friction of clothing against skin, all of it, not separate, not observed, just occurring. The barriers my mind insists upon start to soften. The separation between me and everything else becomes optional, a convenience rather than a rule. The world and I start to move together in silence, a rhythm neither created nor commanded, just happening. Sometimes I imagine that the world laughs at us, the desperate need to control, to categorize, to label everything into manageable compartments. It's almost funny in its persistence. And in that laugh there is relief, because maybe the world never expected me to understand it. Maybe it only asked me to notice, to be present long enough to feel the pulse beneath the explanation. I write, and the words accumulate like ash in the corners of a room I never intended to clean. But I keep writing because if I stop, the world continues anyway, and the voice will creep back in, naming, judging, drawing lines, insisting on order. And I orbit it until I notice the space behind the voice again, the quiet behind the smoke, the rhythm behind the commentary, the patterns that don't need words to exist. It's in that quiet that the story actually lives, not in the words, not in the labels, not in the masks we insist upon. The real story lives in the cracks, in the spaces between explanation and experience, in the fragile, fleeting moments where noticing is enough, where silence and awareness and the pulse of the world itself is the only thing that matters. I can feel the presence of someone else, somewhere listening, absorbing, existing in the same space, breathing the same air. It's terrifying, yes, but it's also beautiful. Stepping outside myself for a moment, realizing the darkness isn't an enemy. It's just here, and so are you. For a single, fragile second, we occupy the same quiet space, suspended between words and world, between the thinking mind and the thing itself. And it is real, the only kind of truth that matters. The world doesn't give a damn whether I understand it. It moves on indifferent, crushing patterns together and pulling them apart while I sit here trying to make sense of the smoke and shadows. The quiet beneath the noise isn't a pause, it's the rhythm of existence, cold and unforgiving. And in that rhythm, I feel something sharp and rare. A fleeting moment where the lines I carved between things crumble, where the distance between me and the world disappears, and all that's left is the raw, unfiltered pulse of life, hitting me in the chest like a bullet I didn't see coming.